Good morning. I'm so lucky to be president of the board today. Wonderful things happening. Unitarian Universalists cherish the fact that our ministers are not sent to us, but rather chosen by us, by means established in each congregation. In our case, senior ministers are selected by a search committee and voted upon the membership, and other ministers are selected by a search committee, which includes the senior minister, and then they are subsequently hired as members of staff. Angela came to us that way. Newly graduated from Harvard Divinity School, the unanimous choice of a selection committee. Are any members of the selection committee here today? If so, I would love for you to stand so that we could thank you. Some of you must be here. Tom, yes. Somebody back there?
And Tommy Campbell.
And Tommy Campbell. We thank Tommy Campbell in our hearts. So Angela was named assistant minister and came to serve us and to continue to learn in her focus on large church ministry. We promised her mentoring and an opportunity to learn all the areas of this varied calling. We called it, and we're still calling it, a residency in large church ministry, just as a new doctor does a residency in an area of specialty. In her 2 years with us, Angela has shepherded a building project, masterminded a year-long focus on immigration justice, led us during Christine's sabbatical, preached, taught, cared, and performed the offices of ministry. We have enjoyed her preaching, we have come to trust her counsel, and rely on her many skills. It was so very clear that she deserved a promotion, and she got one. As of July 1st, she became the associate minister, a colleague to Christine, and one with a larger scope of independent work as one of our ministers. This morning, we celebrate this promotion with Angela by formally installing her as our associate minister. We honor the fact that this promotion marks a change in her relationship with Christine, and we voice our hopes and expectations for this most important of relationships. You can follow along in your order of service. I know. Do I do it right up here? Okay. Angela, we have asked you to live among us, to make our concerns your concerns, and to lead us as you are able in the paths of wisdom, compassion, and peace. In installing you today, we encourage you to continue to preach the truth as you understand in it freedom and love. We affirm our call to you to minister to us in our times of joy and sorrow, to lead us in a shared quest towards greater understanding, and by the example of your life and your ministry, to set forth the principles of our free faith.
Soon after you came, Angela, you and I made a covenant to govern our working relationship. It spoke of good communication and good working practices, of caring and consulting, of our mutual desire to grow as ministers and our mutual commitment to the code of conduct and professional practice of the UU Ministers Association. We agreed in that covenant to share the ministry so that both of us would experience the full range of this varied calling. It spoke of our hopes that, faithfully done, our work would carry forward the ministry and mission of this congregation and bless the lives of those we serve. Today, as we break ground for a new building, it is evident that we have managed, by our own labors and with the help of many and the grace of God, to live into that covenant and those hopes into fruition. Now we're ready to grow our relationship, which started as one of mentor and learner, into one that acknowledges more fully your great gifts and growth in ministry, and which therefore is a relationship of partners in ministry. I'm glad. Will the congregation please stand and read with me? We, the people of this congregation, affirm your ministry to us, Angela, and we affirm your ministry to the wider community. We pledge to work with you in good faith and goodwill to carry out the mission of this church as a shared ministry. As together we explore our spiritual lives, create a beloved community, and serve the larger world.
With joy, I accept your affirmation of my ministry with you and my installation as associate minister. Honored by your trust, I pledge to speak the truth as I understand it in love and to work for the greater good of our religious community and the wider world. I will strive to support Christine as her partner in ministry and to lead you as I am able in the paths of wisdom, compassion, and peace.
Stay up here. Would you both please stay up here? Oops, I don't need that step. It's right there. As a symbol of this new ministerial partnership and of the affection and esteem that we have for both of you, Christine, we have gifts. Angela, we have gifts created for you by Carmen Zamora. Carmen, would you please? And I may ask you to remove this. Which one places?
Are they hanging straight? Okay. Ministerial stoles are symbolic of both the honor and the weight of responsibility of ministry. They remind ministers and congregation that ministers represent the holy as well as their own humanity. These stoles symbolize the team ministry that Christine and Angela have entered into today. Christine and Angela are two different people who bring us different gifts. The stoles are not identical, but they complement each other and carry the important symbols from our beautiful mural. Kitty Lamb made the first mural stole and gave it to Meredith Garman. Then I made one for Carmen Emerson, and it was my plan all along, Christine, to make one for you. And now I have the honor of making one for you, Angela. Christine's stole has a heart on the collar, if you'll turn around, which symbolizes the love she has always carried for us, her congregation. And Angela's stole is white silk, symbolizing a new beginning as she accepts the responsibilities of associate minister. I lined the stoles in lightweight material for comfort in the summer heat. Let their lightness symbolize the efforts of our congregation to lighten the burdens of our ministry with our labor and love. I hope you enjoy wearing these stoles as much as I enjoyed making them. Thank you.
Still my turn, sorry. It's a big thing, isn't it? This affirmation of ministry. Like getting married is a big thing, or bringing a baby into the world, or witnessing a death. The air trembles. The tears in our eyes tell us this is important. It's precious. In such moments, it's tempting to use big words and flowery sentences to try and get God's attention, but that's kind of silly, isn't it? It's so clear from our tears and our hushed voices and the trembling air that whatever God is here already. And so we put our complicated and diverse theologies into simple words that mean the world to us and express what our tears tell us in our hearts. Holy One, whom we call by many names, bless this woman who has made these vows of love and service today, that her work of ministry will be faithful. Be with her when she falters or when the burden of her work is very great. Be with her also when there is temptation to pride or sloth or anger, and always when there is pain. Shield her in times of joy and triumph, and help her ask for help when she needs it. Give all of her satisfaction, or give her all of the satisfactions of this great calling of Unitarian Universalist ministry. Bless also those who love her, work with her, befriend her, guide her. Bless this congregation, us together, a congregation of care, joy, and differences, full of people who each have their own special calling to care or serve. May our young faith and its people serve the world, and may the peace of all that is holy be with us all. Amen. And now I am pleased to introduce you to the Reverend Dr. Paul Hopkins, who will deliver the charge. The charge is sort of the meta instruction, which is given by someone who knows the minister and the church from outside at the services of ordination and installation. Dr. Hopkins is ordained in the Disciples of Christ tradition. He's a pastoral counselor for many years. He was the director of the Samaritan Counseling Center here in Albuquerque. He has had a special interest in supporting clergy over the years and is one of the founders of the Call Back to the Well project, which promotes clergy and lay leader wellness and effectiveness, and clergy groups, which I and several other of your ministers have been in over the years. He now has a private practice of counseling, coaching, and spiritual direction. He's written a book about effectiveness in long-term ministry, which includes a chapter about this church, so he knows some of us and our history from that research. Thanks for being with us, Paul, and offering your wisdom in yet another way.
As I was thinking about my task this morning, I recalled preaching here in this pulpit 9 years ago on another celebration Sunday, that time to celebrate your successful stewardship campaign in 2003. And your fruitful life as a church continues to foster growing abundance. Today, of course, you have two great causes for celebration. I'm glad this installation of Angela as your associate minister comes first. People always come before buildings, and leadership always opens doors to growth and community and mission. And what leaders you have! I've known Christine for nearly 20 years, and I have admired her enough to write a chapter about her in my book on pastoral excellence. And now, lo and behold, you have two excellent pastors leading you in ministry. You might well adapt Marmie's words from Little Women, "We are in abundance." And I may have to prepare a second edition of the book to include Angela. Because I believe that excellence must be tended carefully in order to continue to grow, I have a few important things to say to Angela and to Christine, and especially to all of you. Angela, you have already demonstrated in your ministry here an extraordinary depth of vision, a rich capacity for leadership, and an admirable commitment to learn and to grow. These are essential nutrients for fruitful ministry. So I charge you to walk carefully and faithfully in the paths that we now know foster fruitfulness and which help combat the depletion which ministry can sometimes bring. Keep alive your call to holy purpose. Stay dependably authentic as a woman and as a pastor. Nurture trusting relationships with friends, with colleagues, with Carlos and Olivia and Mauricio, and with these fellow travelers in faith. Be a generous servant in your leadership. Exercise creativity in adapting to the challenges and opportunities that will indeed come. Pursue persistently your heart's deep longings as you respond to the world's deep needs. Maintain faithfully your spiritual practices that you may always be fed and refreshed. Christine, continue to welcome and encourage Angela as she grows in pastoral excellence. Give her freedom and give her feedback that she may find her own unique ways of ministry. Offer her your wisdom when she invites it, but don't bombard her with it. Trust her to make her own mistakes and find her own corrections. Most of all, welcome her as a companion and even at times as a teacher as you continue to grow in your own particular gifts. May the music that each of you makes combine into a rich harmony of inspiration that fosters a lively and graceful congregational dance. And you, members of First Unitarian Church, take good care of this new associate minister, Angela. I think you must have been good to her from the beginning, or she might not have agreed to stay. But don't you dare take her for granted. Tend the garden out of which her fruitfulness and Christine's comes. Make sure she has time to rest and study and be a person apart from being a pastor. Encourage her to build relationships with peers and friends and family from whom she will learn and who will build her up and make her laugh when she is confused or discouraged by a life in ministry. Guard against expecting her to be on duty and available all the time, and insist that she care for her body and her spirit. When you disagree with Angela, talk respectfully with her about it, and together search for reconciliation. Pay her well. And tell her thank you a lot. Angela has been a welcome immigrant to this community, as have we all been immigrants into that strange country called the church. And on behalf of the larger community, I thank you so much for bringing this gifted woman here. Today, she turns in her green card and joins this congregation in full citizenship. And now, blessed by Angela's ministry in partnership with Christine's, you will join hands not only in a deeper love for one another, but more important, to heal and bless the aching and needful world out there. Thank you for your mighty witness. Go forward in peace and power.
On this shining night of stormy shadows round, kindness must watch for me this side the ground. north, all is healed, all is health. Thy summer holds the earth, hearts full. Sure on this shining night I weep for wonder, wandering far alone of shadows on the stars.
My mother would probably tell you with a groan that I was born to be in charge of something. And even though Christine is the boss of this place, I suppose a promotion and a formal installation do come with some kind of new or increased authority. But exactly what is it ministers are authorized to do? In divinity school, I pored over scripture from the Christian and Buddhist traditions and read shelves and shelves of commentary on theology and exegesis. That's the interpretation of scriptures. I took biblical Greek. That's probably even less useful than you would think in a Unitarian context, although it was fascinating. I studied leadership and administration, mediation and conflict resolution, and counseling. Ministers in training are also required to study the social sciences, religious history, oppression, ethics, human development, and of course, rites of passage, weddings, memorials, and the arts of worship. The arts of worship. A teacher in a preaching class once commended me for owning the pulpit as I spoke. That probably relates to something my mother saw in me, although I may also have given the impression of owning the pulpit partly because I was holding on to the dear thing for life to steady my shaking hands that day. There's so much we ministers need to know, and yet none of these things defines a ministry. Not all ministers do all of these things. Some don't preach, some don't run churches. What is it that all of these things have in common? And in the Unitarian Universalist Church, we're also supposed to do something called shared ministry. It isn't about converting people, although we do like it when you bring your friends. It isn't just about doing good works, although if goodness and mercy are not the fruits of our shared ministry, then we are surely on the wrong path. In the Litany of Installation, we spoke of the paths of wisdom, compassion, and peace, and a quest for greater understanding. Ministry and shared ministry is about the thing that lies beneath these and all of the above. It's about why we do what we do as much as it's about the what. I once read some words about preaching that seemed to get at the why, the deeper thing beneath it. In an informal, unpublished comment, a writer stated, she started by putting some parameters around the sermon as an art of worship, parameters around what it should not be for. A sermon may exhort, she said, but not harangue. Like other art forms, a sermon may and often should entertain, but never merely entertain. A sermon may, of course, argue, but never for the sake of doing any unlovely thing, like ridiculing opponents. A sermon shares some elements with a lecture, but it must never be only a lecture. A sermon, she says, at best, and mostly through the telling and interpretation of stories, opens our minds to the appeal, the allure, the charm of that which is worthy of our devoted gratitude and service. We respond with overflowing love and resolve to do the loving thing. That is, we worship. We go out more grateful, braver, and more earnest than when we came into meeting. We come back again and again because we want our thoughtful hearts wooed to love what is worthy of our love. I wish she would turn that last phrase into a whole book. Worship, according to its etymology, means to ascribe worth to that which is worthy. This is not something that can be done merely intellectually, although it has not been done respectably if our intellects are not engaged. Good church, good ministry engages minds and hearts, thoughtful hearts. We want our thoughtful hearts wooed to love what is worthy of our love. What is worthy of the love of thoughtful hearts? It has something to do with living in the world and loving the world and delighting in it and depending on it, but also being wounded by the world and in it. This week, we watched news unfold of the tragedy in Colorado, a shooter opening fire on a crowded theater, and our hearts hurt. Not just for those who were wounded or killed and for their families, but also for living in a world in which such things happen, where people lash out at each other, and who can say why? Where destruction happens to people who are right in the middle of living, right in the middle of creating or recreating their lives, and they have plans and they're not done yet. A world where living is dangerous from the moment we're born. That's a hard thing to live with, that living is dangerous. It's a hard bargain, life going hand in hand with death. To say they go hand in hand does not mean we shouldn't try to prevent death when it looms too soon, or especially when it's tied to violence. We must do what we can to prevent harm whenever possible. But violence is such a self-perpetuating cycle and so hard to recognize in its spiritual and emotional forms before it blooms into physical violence, and we can easily miss it. And of course, there are so many kinds of tragedies, natural disasters and illness and injury, accidents and not so accidental moral and ethical lapses, systems of oppression. Would that my eyes were buckets of tears, said the prophet Jeremiah in the Old Testament, so that I could cry day and night for the condition of my people. This is the world our thoughtful hearts live in. A world in which living is dangerous and having a heart is dangerous and loving might be the riskiest part of it all, and yet we love. There's a woundedness that goes along with being, just being alive. You know what that looks like in your life. The thoughtful heart acknowledges this woundedness, does not look for simple answers. It looks not for the fix-all prayer or the prosperity gospel, but for the meaning of loving anyway. One of my friends in divinity school did a study of what UU ministers said to their congregations on the first Sunday after 9/11. The why do bad things happen question has always been a hard one for churches. No one really has a satisfying answer, but people always want one anyway. We can't help ourselves. I read a handful of these 9/11 sermons, and the theme that stood out the most was the phrase, "I love you." I don't know how to make sense of this, one minister said. What can I say that is meaningful in the face of so much destruction? I'm at a loss for words, but I feel I must tell you, I love you. Someone else once wrote that ministry enters through a wound. I think this must be what she meant. We get wounded, and yet we're meant for love and for joy. We're born ready, wired to connect with other beings and to delight in this world. The world to which our bodies are destined to return in this hand-in-hand cycle fills us with fear, but also overwhelming awe and love. The world that wounds also births us, and it births hummingbirds and sequoias, cicadas, rainstorms, and luminescent fish. It contains within its womb-like oceans miles and miles of uncharted mystery and spreads out above us twinkling planets, moons, and stars, and equally mysterious, it has human beings with their love of learning, with their aspirations and religious impulses, with their great stories and a cappella groups, their symphonies and operas, their instinct to get together to make beauty for beauty's sake, and to love. That's what you are. And this is where we are, in a universe that is constantly birthing beauty and delight. We love and we want our thoughtful hearts wooed to love that which is worthy. This is the ultimate religious impulse, to love what is worthy, that we might hold on to it for dear life. And then go out more grateful, braver, and more earnest than before, so we can use our lives, our whole lives, wounds and beauty and love and all, to bless the world. That's why we're together this morning. That's our shared ministry. We install ministers and build up new sanctuaries with more room and more beauty to restore souls and as a going out place for blessing, for inviting in and going out, for committee meetings, contemplation and prayer, and yes, sermons. It's work we can only do together. Together from near and far, I know members of at least one of our branch congregations have made the trip to be here in person this morning. Hello, Edgewood. These kinds of ceremonies are hard to share across distance, but the other branches have been in my heart all morning. I'm talking to you, Carlsbad and Socorro. It's good to be together.
As we are sharing in this glorious abundance this morning, let us continue to share our financial abundance as we take this morning's offering.
Oh, great day, the righteous marching, great day. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. Oh, great day, the righteous marching, great day. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. Chariot moved on the mountain top. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. My Lord spoke and the chariot stopped. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. Oh, great day, the righteous marching, great day. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. 'Tis the year of Jubilee. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. When my Lord set his people free, God's gonna build up Zion's wall. Oh, great day, the righteous marching, great day. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. When I was a monarch just like you, God's gonna build up Zion's wall. I prayed and prayed till I come through. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. Great day, great day, the righteous marching, great day. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. We want no cowards in our band. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. We call for valiant-hearted men. God's gonna build up Zion's wall. Oh, great day, the righteous marching, great day. God's gonna build up Zion's wall.
What is generously given is received with gratitude. Thank you on behalf, especially, of the ESL program, the food pantry, and the after-school tutoring program. I invite you now to rise and join me in a responsive benediction. I'll read the plain font, you read the italics. For all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. For all who seek a right path, may a way be found, and the courage to take it step by step. May it be so. Blessed be. And please join me across the courtyard for cake, and then come back at 11 for our groundbreaking celebration.